Getting the race kit on. Pre-race thoughts?
I think regardless of outcome today, remembering what a privilege it is to be racing, remembering what a privilege it is to connect to my body in this very special way. It's gonna feel so good to cross that finish line knowing I gave this training block everything that I could, that I overcame the little setbacks that came up, and this is just the ultimate test of where that strength has brought me.
Fuel, babe, fuel.
This race experience reminded me that performance is not just about the time on the clock. It's about having grounding strategies to handle whatever comes up. In this video, I'm taking you along for my first Hyrox race abroad here in beautiful Stockholm. I'll break down my race strategy, the mindset I used to stay grounded, what I ate leading to race day, and a few surprises from exploring the city. This was my second official Hyrox in the women's pro division, and I learned a ton that I'm excited to share. Let's dive in. Our journey began with a flight from our hometown in Oregon to Seattle, where we very narrowly picked up our connecting flight over to London Heathrow. After reflecting a bit, it was time to get some rest for the evening.
Stockholm.
Stockholm.
Last flight.
Last night.
Yeah.
Last night to Stockholm. Shakeout run, made it to Stockholm, and yeah, so many of you probably don't know, I haven't talked about it too much, but I have had a little shin injury on and off since August, and it's been a bit of a process for me, to be honest, because as someone who coaches sustainable fitness, to have something come up like this in my body, it feels tough to manage sometimes, and I think one of the most important lessons is that we can only do our best in terms of what our bodies are ready for in this moment, and sometimes what we preach is harder to practice, and I think that has been an ongoing investigation of mine, finding that line of how much is too much, as a competitive athlete, as someone who values finding that edge and pushing it, and then when do we need to step back, recalibrate, and really let the body heal. Ultimately, all challenges, we're only as strong as our greatest challenges, and all challenges will teach us. So it's been my lesson so far. Just fingers crossed that it stays that way. I don't have a big flare up before the race. Feeling good so far, so yeah. We routed our shakeout to bring us to a grocery store where we would pick out the food items that I knew I would want for the race. This part got fun.
Okay, so Luke and I both have this thing where we love exploring grocery stores in foreign countries. This is literally like a museum to us. So we are very excited to be here right now. Woohoo!
Look at this cart.
This cart.
Far superior to American grocery carts.
Gonna get some groceries and load up for the week.
My favorite part about European countries is these tiny little streets where it just feels so old and
Like there's so much history on this road and in these walls and this beauty. It makes me feel like I'm part of something longer and more intricate and something really mysterious and I don't know about but can appreciate. The next day, we spent some time exploring the city. We found our gym home away from home, complete with a downstairs Hyrox training space.
Red carpet treatment.
I was able to get my movement practice in, which was my training for the day. And then we tried out the local cuisine, a cinnamon bun, and some Swedish meatballs, of course. And finally, I was able to get my hair done at this sweet little spot in Gamlestan, Stockholm's old town.
What do you think?
Yeah, for scooter ride, there's definitely a learning curve with the balance for me. I got my number earlier. It's written on my wrist, so I'll register for tomorrow. And definitely noticing those butterflies have started coming up. I think some of the best advice I've ever received around fear and that like pre-race anxiety is focusing on the energy. So you might start to feel those butterflies and it's less about making it go away, but more about what you do with it. It's not about how you feel, but it's about how you work with how you feel, because we can't always change how we feel, but we can change how we channel that energy. And so right now I'm really working on just picturing that those butterflies as a golden orb inside of me that is going to fuel me during tomorrow's race.
We then made it over to the Vasa Museum, which is home to a massive 17th century warship that sank on its very first voyage and was later recovered from the harbor, almost perfectly preserved.
The ship, I think it gives me a lot of appreciation for how much technology we have in this day and age, and picturing humans building this with their bare hands is pretty incredible. Yeah, humans are capable of so much.
It made me feel curious and inspired, thinking about the craftsmanship, ambition, and risk behind something so massive.
What do you think, babe?
I did have a moment by the water. I think that having Pithy race day tomorrow is definitely top of mind. Even though we had a really lovely day walking around and visiting the Vasa Museum and having some good coffee and having some rest time, trying not to spend too much time on feet today. So spend some time on the scooter. And I think what's really alive for me right now is just remembering how important it is to do things that scare us and that feel uncomfortable. Thinking about tomorrow and really remembering that I chose to do this tomorrow and I choose to push myself. I choose to put myself in environments that test my capacity to handle unexpected events and stress, and the opportunity to overcome all of that, I think, is just so valuable. And so, yes, on one hand, we can spend our lives staying entirely comfortable, but I think it's really important to do things in life where we can look back on and be like, wow, later on, reflect on it and know that that's helped us become the best version of ourselves. And we can only do that by putting ourselves in situations that don't always feel natural or easy. So just some thoughts in my mind tonight as we stand by the water, about to go home, make some dinner at home, keeping it really simple. Some fish, rice, potatoes, definitely high on the carbs, and taking it easy, putting the feet up, doing some meditation as well before the big day. What's the word? Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
Okay.
Previous dinner, I think that there's a lot of different ideas, obviously, like what people like to do before their races. Of course, it's going to depend a lot on the nature of your race. Like, what is your race, right? Like, something like Hyrox is going to look different than something like a super long endurance run or like a weightlifting competition. All of these are going to be using different energy pathways. So for Hyrox, I'm leaning more towards carbs. I am eating some steak tonight. Some people might not choose to do that because it is one of those heavier proteins, but I just felt better about buying the steak here than I did the chicken. It just looked a little fresher when we were at the market. I have some kale for some more nutrients, and olives for some more salt to help me drink more water, since I've not been good about drinking water here so far. That's all right. We're going to be okay. And then we have some sweet potatoes, again, for those nutrients, as well as some rice. So I have some rice going here. Soaked that earlier. I always try to soak my grains because I think that they digest better. I have a little bit of bread, but trying to not do so much flour and things like that, trying to stick to more whole foods tonight and just sticking with things that I eat normally at home, because my body's going to process that a lot more easily because it's familiar food. So plenty of time to be adventurous here in Stockholm. We've already tried the meatballs, but tonight sticking to basics, so my body can really process it easily before tomorrow.
Getting the race kit on. Pre-race thoughts?
I think regardless of outcome today, remembering what a privilege it is to be racing, remembering what a privilege it is to connect to my body in this very special way, and be able to check in on the evolutions within myself since my last race, since my last Hyrox. I think today is just about staying positive and doing my best to keep my pacing consistent, cut down those laps on the runs. I'll be very happy if I could execute that today, and realizing the thoughts are passing, realizing I can only think about one thought at a time, and there's probably going to be a lot that passes through in that arena. So yeah, privileged to race, very grateful for my body, very grateful to even have a body that can do things like this. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's gonna feel so good to cross that finish line knowing I gave this training block everything that I could, that I overcame the little setbacks that came up, and this is just the ultimate test of where that strength has brought me.
Hey, we just got to the facility. Here we are.
I arrived at the venue about 90 minutes before my start time. I'm really intentional about not getting here too early. These race environments are incredibly stimulating. The lights, the noise, and the energy of other athletes, and I want to save my nervous system for the race itself. So for me, arriving too early means spending energy just taking everything in. Although it's exciting, I try to save that for after my race so I can stay centered for when it matters most for me. As part of my warm-up and pre-race routine, I always spend some time walking and doing my warm-up run through the venue. Although I've already studied the course map, seeing the stations in real time really helps. It makes everything feel familiar before the race starts.
If you've ever raced before, you know that feeling right before you head to the start line. One technique I like to use in this moment is a mantra. So this is something that my coach recently reminded me of, is the power of a single phrase or thought that helps you center and ground back into your body. For me, this race, it was finding the edge and stay there. My body is ready. A couple of things that I can repeat to myself.
5 minutes. How you feeling? You look ready, babe. Gotta smash it.
Another thing I focus on during the race is learning how to zoom in and zoom out. Sometimes my attention is internal, my breath, my body, my cadence, my stride, and sometimes it's external. It's the station in front of me, the crowd, the next task. It's knowing when to tune into each one, letting that shift from station to run to station helps me stay present without getting too overwhelmed. There's been a lot of discussion in the Hyrox world about the best place to position the rope during the sled pull. You'll see here that I chose to toss it between my legs behind me. That's simply how I had been training this last block. If I were to do this again and likely going into my next race, I'm going to be pulling the rope to the side of my body. I later learned that keeping the rope outside of the lane can be safer for other athletes, especially runners moving through the arena, and helps reduce the risk of someone tripping behind me. So that is something I'll be retraining my next race, as I really noticed I was unable to use my entire box as I was stepping back here, which can really be a hindrance to efficiency.
processing.
Rushed
I think
it.
the earplugs, I don't know. I mean, it felt nice. I don't know if they really made a difference in terms of my focus. They muffled everything, which is kind of nice. They didn't fall out. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell during the race because pain is always so subjective, like depending and circumstantial, depending on what's going on. So I'm curious to see how the splits break down. Yeah, even though I was aiming for the 115, like I have to admit this was still a big PR from Dallas. So I think the way my brain works is always going to want a little bit more than what's achievable, and I think that's healthy as long as I'm adaptable to the results. So that's really the best that I can say.
So this race did end up being a personal best for me, which I was very happy about. Most importantly, learning a ton within each station, especially watching what my mind does under pressure within each challenge. I was able overall to keep myself so much calmer than I was in my very first race, and that feels like the real win for me. Afterwards, I took some time to cool down, snap a few photos, and just let everything sink in. I was racing mixed doubles with my partner 2 days later, so recovery and time in nature was especially important. And additionally, as a little surprise, my cycle started between the races, which honestly adds another layer to competing as a woman. We're enjoying a little bit of sunshine. It is Saturday. Got Hyrox mixed doubles this afternoon. We're on at about 4:10 is our heat start time. This morning was able to get out and enjoy a little bit of coffee, a little espresso, get in the sauna, help the body to recover. A little bit of cold to just help reduce inflammation. I did start my cycle yesterday on that one day we had in between both races, which on one hand, working with being on my cycle during times of racing can require extra energy, and it can be a little bit of just extra considerations while preparing, especially regarding recovery. But on the other hand, I'm grateful that it fell on that day in between. I think that navigating my first day of my cycle would have been very challenging had it fallen on the actual race day. I haven't shared too much regarding my cycle and my story around different periods of time with my hormones being a little bit imbalanced. Having really painful cycles is something that I've dealt a lot with. I am currently in a phase where I am having a bit more of a painful cycles again. So I am navigating the cramping. Taking a lot of herbs this morning, nice herbal stock to help keep those cramps at bay. But as a woman, you know, it is important to know how to listen to these signals without overriding them, but also not focus on them so much that they start to become a bigger issue than they need to be, right? 'Cause the body will follow the mind in a lot of ways. So if we're thinking positive thoughts about what we can be doing, how our body's recovering, then I do think the body will follow that. Likewise, if we start to feel anxious or nervous about the effect of what we're experiencing, then we might notice that things start to feel more intense. Anyway, in short, we're headed back. Gonna get a little bit more food before we head back over to the venue. And the sun is out, enjoying some sunshine. It's gonna be a great day for Hyrox mixed doubles. This was my first time racing abroad, and honestly, it reminded me how much performance is about staying present with a calm and quiet mind, not just being physically prepared. That's only one piece. Traveling to Stockholm challenged me to stay calm, adaptable, and deeply connected to my body, especially on race day. And a lot of the work that I do now is helping women to train with awareness, building lean muscle and strength, and still feeling regulated and connected to their body. And this race really reflected why that matters to me. If you enjoyed this video and you want to hear more about awareness-based training, mindset, sustainable performance, and strength beyond aesthetics, I'd be so happy for you to subscribe and follow along for my next video. I'll see you soon.
How you feeling, babe?
How am I feeling? Cold. Amazed. Grateful.